Today we're going to talk about the function menu. This will be part one. We're going to look at differences in the menu based on the aircraft type that we use. So we're going to start here. We're going to go to the base menu and we're going to go to model type. And this model here, for example, is showing an airplane, 2 ailerons, 2 flaps, normal tail, and electric power. So I'm going to go back and we'll go to the function menu. So with that selection, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times 2 is 10, 13 different icons. One of them I'll show you on this screen, the flap mix screen. You see it right there in the middle. It shows because we selected 2 ailerons. I'm going to go back and change that configuration. Going to base menu, going back, changing to 1 aileron and 1 flap, and normal tail, and enter. And now we'll go to the function menu and you'll see there are less icons. So the number of icons on the function screen are based on the actual model configuration in model select and model type. So what we're going to do now is we're going to change this model's type again. We're going to change it now to a glider. Trying to change it to a glider. There you go. Should be able to do it. Okay. I'm going to go with a glider. I'm going to use 2 ailerons and 2 flaps and a normal tail. And we will say electric power and press enter to configure. So now when I look at model type, we have now a glider with 2 ailerons and 2 flaps and an electric motor. So let's go to the function menu. Now you'll see that the icons have changed again. We now have camber and butterfly and a couple other different icons on the screen, including the flap mix. I will go ahead and change the flaps to just 1 flap and 1 aileron. Let's see what disappears. Going to base menu, going to model type, going to this, and I'm just going to do 1 and 1, normal tail, enter, and let's go to the function menu and see what we have. So now you see we have a whole lot less choices based on that configuration of this glider. So the whole point here is that based on your configuration of your aircraft, your vehicle, etc., the function menu will change in terms of the number of icons you see and how they work. That's it for part 1. Okay, this video is part 2 of the function menu, and we're going to look at the icons specifically and what they do. First, I want to show you the model type as I showed you before. Based on the configuration on this screen, you get different icons on the function menu. So let's go to the function menu and talk about the functions. So the first function on the function menu is the phases. Phases are phases are known as quick links in the past, flight modes, and phases. They basically allow you to set up different configurations for the same airplane. So if you want to have your trim different for landing, you set up a phase for landing. A trim different for takeoff, you can set up a different phase for takeoff, etc., etc. The glider guys use lots of phases because they have all kinds of surface configurations and it's very useful to them. We will go back to phases specifically in the next session. The next icon on the screen is dual rates exponential. Dual rates exponential. Dual rates allow us to increase or decrease the sensitivity of the control surfaces. So for old guys like me, I might turn down that 100% to something less because I over-controlled typically. Exponential is used to configure the transmitter sticks such that the center of the stick is less sensitive. The entire throw for that surface will be, again, the maximum, but by increasing exponential, we make the center of the stick less sensitive. We'll go over our dual rates here in just a second. I'm going to go back. The next icon that we're going to talk about is the program mix icon. This icon allows us to mix different settings. So for example, I might go ahead and go here to this master column, and I might pick, say I want to mix aileron, which is channel 2. Go here to top and check it to channel 2, and I might want to mix aileron with a little bit of rudder, which would be channel 4, and go back. The point is, I'm now going to mix channel 2 with 4, so anytime I move the aileron stick, it will cause a resulting move on the rudder, so we get coordinated turns. In order for the function to be active, you have to get rid of the inhibit, and you have to create a settings. So I might have, say, 35%. Let's make it 21%. How's that? 21%. So now I've got a 21% mix between the aileron and the rudder, and if we go to the servo screen, when I push the aileron, you'll see that the rudder on channel 4 is changing. We'll come back to this in more detail later. So the mixes here typically are used for mixing aileron to rudder, creating flaperons, creating some additional mixes for throttle control. Going back to the main screen. The next icon I'd like to cover is the flap mix screen. Let's go to the flap mix. And flap mix has some preset mixing. Instead of program mix, we can now use the flap mix options, and it gives us 3 options. First, we touch this top one here. We can mix in flaps and different rates. Or we can mix ailerons to flaps for crow or camber. We can mix elevator to flaps for various controls. But more often we mix flap to elevator, because when you deploy flaps, you need some down elevator to keep the airplane from ballooning. And that's generally what we're doing here in this particular icon. So we're back to flap set. Another way of setting flaps. This particular setting allows us to set some aileron function, and also flap function and elevator functions. So you can create flaps using ailerons and flaps in the elevator to control the aircraft. We'll go into it in detail in a later session. Lastly, I want to show you the sequencer. This sequencer is used to control 3 channels and cause a sequence of events. And where would you use this? Basically, you would use it in a situation like maybe a scale bomber or a fighter that has very scale landing gear. So you might have 2 doors on the landing gear and the landing gear themselves. So door 1 has to open, door 2 has to open to get the landing gear out, and then the landing gear comes out. Then the sequencer will close by putting the landing gear in first, closing door 1, and then closing door 2. So the sequencer causes a number of events to occur in order to manipulate landing gear, bomb bay doors, and other devices. And that's it for this session of the function menu.